Hi, I'm Kevin Vereen. I'm a master's graduate student at Asbury University, currently working on my MSWB. For one of our assignments, we have to interview someone whom we find interesting, just a basic interview about their lives and whatnot. So, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Melody, and I'm a 55-year-old married mother of three sons, and I'm currently employed as an elementary school teacher. I've been teaching this is my 18th year as a school teacher.
Okay, great. So, why don't you just start off, I guess, just telling you about like you growing up, where you grew up, how life was for you growing up.
Okay, well, I'm originally from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, um, and that's where I was born and raised. Um, and let's see, growing up, I lived not in the city, more in a rural type neighborhood. I lived with my mother, father, and I have one brother. Um, we lived, like I said, in a rural neighborhood, um, 2 lane road, not too far from my grandmother, who who helped my mom and dad with raising me and my brother.
So, raised in a rural type of area, what experience was what kind of experience was that? What was your experiences living that in the type of environment?
Well, we had a lot of space, a lot of room to run and to play outdoors, we did a lot of times. We had space for pets, for outdoor pets, for animals, um, riding bicycles. Um, didn't have to worry about traffic or strangers. We knew everybody, all of our neighbors, and all the neighbors looked after the children in the community and helped raise those children.
So it was like a very spacious area, not a lot of people. And you said did you have animals on there also?
Yes.
What type of animals?
Well, once my dad bought me and my brother a calf, so we had a calf. His name was Popeye, and we raised him to become a full-grown cow, and then my dad took him to be slaughtered. So then we ate. We had meat from Popeye. We also had a pig at one point. Her name was Samantha, and we raised her and bottle fed Samantha until she became grown. So we um, spent a lot of time outdoors and um, interacting with the animals. Um, at one point, we had a monkey. His name was Jamie. He was a spider monkey. A friend of my grandmother uh, gave us the monkey. He was grown when we got him. He lived in a cage and he stayed in my bedroom. Sometimes we would take him outside on a leash and let him walk in the yard and climb the trees. Um, I think Jamie had an unfortunate death. He stayed outside overnight one night, and I think it got too cold for Jamie, and I think Jamie froze to death. We also had rabbits. The rabbits were named Bunny, Lou, and Buster. I actually did a science investigation with Bunny, Lou, and Buster. Um, Bunny Lou was jet black, I believe, and Buster was brown. So my science investigation was to see if I could predict what color babies they would have.
Mm-hmm.
And so I let them mate. I put them together and let them mate. And then once they had a litter, I went through to see what color babies they had. Um, I think they eventually died too. Bunny, Lou, and Buster.
So
We had plenty of dogs.
Really? How many?
I remember one big German Shepherd named Duke. He was so big. My little brother used to ride him and ride on his back, and he wouldn't let anybody come down the driveway or come to the house without letting us know. And then we had lots of puppies too.
So, growing up, what did your father and your mother, what were their occupations?
My mother was a school teacher, and she retired, I think, after 31 years. She taught all grade levels, starting, I think, at 5th grade, and then she kept going down until she finally retired. When she retired, she was teaching kindergarten. My father was a factory worker at R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company, and he started there, working there right after high school, and I think he worked there 30 years until he retired.
So, what about your brother? How was your relationship with him?
We had a close relationship. He is almost 2 years younger, and so we were together all the time. We used to do everything together. We even went to the prom together. I went to senior prom, and he took my best friend, and so we went to the prom together. So we used to do lots of things together.
So the mother, being a educator, like was she very? You're supposed she got her college degree, also, with that.
Yes, she graduated from Winston-Salem State University, and then later got her master's degree from University of North Carolina, Greensboro.
Okay. And then your father, what was his education?
He was a high school graduate. He did do some post-high school work in technical college. He took some accounting classes and some other classes.
Okay. Well, I guess growing up, I know you were near the segregation or had near that time. How was that living in those times? What were your experiences like during that time?
Well, really, in elementary school, I really didn't know too much about segregation. I guess, the schools were segregated. Like I said, I lived in a rural area, and it was a little African American community inside of a larger white community. So I attended the local schools with the white students. So as far as I knew, the schools were desegregated, except for there were maybe only two or three black students in the class with all white students and white teachers. When I was in 4th grade, after my 4th grade year, that's when the schools were desegregated, and so the students that lived in my community were bused to inner city schools to go to school there in 5th and 6th grade, and the students from the inner city schools were bused to my neighborhood to go to the white schools more in the rural areas for kindergarten through 4th grade. So then, so I rode the bus 5th and 6th grade to the inner city schools. Then in 7th and 8th grade, I went to a middle school, which was right down the street from me, which was back out in the white neighborhoods. And then 9th and 10th grade, I was bused back down to the inner city schools. And then 11th and 12th grade, high school, was back out in the white community near where I live. And that was their way of desegregating schools.
Oh, that's interesting. So were your friends, were they mostly white or were they mostly black, or was it a good mix?
It was a good mix, I guess.
Good mix.
Well, because well, I mean, kindergarten through well, it was first grade through fourth grade. I had mostly white friends, and then I had maybe one or two black friends. Then when I went to the inner city schools with fifth and sixth grade, I had some more. I started meeting more black people and becoming friends with them. I do remember at first the black girls wouldn't really talk to me, and because then they were all friends and then I didn't know them, so I was new. So one thing that I noticed was all the black girls had pierced ears, and I didn't have pierced ears. So when I went home, I asked my mom if she would pierce my ears. She took me to a jewelry store and got my ears pierced, and then I thought that I would make friends and that the black girls would talk to me if I had my ears pierced like theirs. I mean, some of them started talking to me, but I don't know if it made that much of a difference.
So when you first started just going to more of the black schools or getting more of the African American students in the class, was it like a culture shock, or was it just a normal transition, or was it?
It was kind of a cultural shock. It took some, I guess, some getting used to.
Would you think that was because you were raised out in the rural community with not a lot of people being out there? You kind of, like you said, it's more spaces, which means less contact with people. You think that might have been a reason why also?
Yes, that was probably a reason. Then by the time though I got to seventh and eighth grade, like afterwards, then that was also when they placed you and put you on a track as far as what classes you would take. So then I was mainly in the higher classes. So then I was back with more of the white kids and being the only one or two African American students in the class. So then it was back to what I had was accustomed to when I was in elementary school.
Let's see. That's interesting. So after, I guess, high school, whatnot, you went on to college. You went to North Carolina State, correct?
Yes, I went to North Carolina State University. And I don't think it was ever an option of going to college. I think my parents just assumed you graduate from high school, you're going to go to college.
So education was important in your household?
Yes, it was.
So you, was it more of your mother, or was it like your father? Was it kind of like a both, like kind of both of them pushed you to go towards college? Was it because, I guess, I would think of it more, I guess, your mother being educated, your father being less educated, was it more of that, or was it just because it was just more expected of you?
I think it was just more expected of me. And then, like I said, and starting with middle school up through high school, I was more on the college prep track, and it was just expected that that's what I would do.
So when you went to college, was it a smooth transition from high school to college, or we always hear about a lot of freshmen having that rough transition in the beginning, maybe not doing as well as they want to, and maybe then picking up momentum. Was it like that for you, or was it, as soon as you got there to college, you were focused, you know what you wanted to do, and you did well?
Yes. It was more that it was a hard transition. I think part of it was, it was my fault. Start off with North Carolina State was the only school that I applied to. I knew that's where I wanted to go, but I had never visited the campus. I didn't know what to expect. I think I was afraid to go, and then I would think, if I once I actually saw it, I may change my mind and check it out. So I didn't want to go see it. So I just the first day that was my first day there, and I did. I met lots of people. Um, at that time, North Carolina State was probably, I would say, less than 10%, maybe 8, 9% African American students. So there weren't many there. My freshman year, I was in a room with three. There were three to the room, and I had two white girls as my roommates. Um, I remember I remember calling home and telling my mom and dad that the only black people I saw there they were mowing the yards or mopping the floors. So, and I think one part of that too was that I was on an older, smaller section of campus. That's where my dorm was, and more the African American students were on the central campus.
So what about like coming? I know Raleigh kind of like it's kind of a big city, but was it a hard transition from going from the rural community, to not knowing a lot of people through the city life?
No, because I didn't have a car or anything, so I just basically stayed on campus. So I didn't really get out in the city much. No.
And what did you major in at NC State?
I majored in textiles, materials, and management.
And what's that?
It's working with the production of textile materials, and as far as like starting off with the raw product, like with cotton or wool and or synthetics, up into making fabric and then making things from the fabric. It was a really big industry
At the time.
at that time. Not so much then. I don't even know if they even have a textile major anymore. I think it changed to more of the management.
Like a associate's degree or just a management degree. Like
Degree, business and management.
Okay.
And then you could, I think, like now you maybe get minor in textiles, taking some textiles, but textiles is not as big an industry as it was then.
Okay, that's interesting. Oh, college. Were you very social?
No.
No. And
I mostly stayed in my room and went to class and went back to my room. My freshman year, I did have one friend from high school who had a car, and he would go home every weekend, and then I would mainly either I would catch a ride home with him every weekend, or I would ride the bus home every weekend. And part of that was my little brother was playing high school football. He was a big star on the football team. So I went to all of his football games. I went home every weekend, and so I could be home by Friday night to attend his football games.
oh, that's nice. I'm that he enjoyed you coming back to see him play.
I think so.
In college, was it a good experience? Like, did anything exciting happen, or
No. I did in my freshman year, my freshman chemistry class. All freshmen had to take a chemistry class, and it was in a huge auditorium classroom, probably held 200 to 250 students. But like I said, not many African Americans. Maybe there were maybe 15 in that class, and there was this. I did meet this one boy. So most of the African American students would sit like on the same row, and then we would at least have somebody to talk to during class, and we tried to get to know each other in case we missed the class or tried to needed to use somebody else's notes. We could get notes from them, and we would get together with study sessions. So then there was this one boy that I met, and he was really nice, and he asked me out on a date. So I told him that only way I would go out on a date with him was if I passed my chemistry test. So at that time, you would go in and everybody would take the chemistry test. And so, like I said, there were maybe 200 people in the class, but then they had maybe 5 to 10 classes of freshmen taking us. So after they would score the test, then this was before computers and everything. Then they would post the grades outside of the classroom door. So then all the students would go meet, and they would have your social security number. They would have your name, they have your social security number. They would have you would look on what section you were in, and then you would find your grades. So all the students would meet once they thought the test scores had been posted, and we go out there to find out what we made on the test. So this guy and I met to find out what we made on the test. So then when I found out that I passed the test, so then I went out on a date with him. So then we started dating, and then eventually we got married.
That's sweet. That's a nice story. So kind of like a college sweetheart, that kind of, I guess, romantic story. So kind of like that.
Yes, but then, we didn't date we dated most of the time, but then we broke up, and then we would get back together, and we broke up, and we'd get back together, and then finally got back together.
So your husband, after that, what happened after college?
After college, because we didn't get married right after college, he was in Air Force ROTC, so then he was commissioned as a captain in the Air Force, and so he did that. He moved to Georgia, and I ended up going back to Winston-Salem, moving back in with my parents and getting a job and working there.
So after you got out the Air Force, did you all get married after that?
We got married before that then. So we got married before while he was still in the Air Force. We got married. We got engaged on my 25th birthday, and then we got married later on that year. And then I moved to Georgia.
Okay. So when did you have your first child?
When I was 27, we had our first child, our oldest son.
How many children do you have now?
We have 3.
3. What are the ages?
The oldest one just turned 28. Then the middle one is 26, and then our youngest is 15.
So that's pretty wide range from the 15 to the 26.
Yeah, it is.
So raising those 3 children, what would you say the most difficult thing would be raising children? Or what were your experiences?
Well, I could tell you what I think was the hardest time that we had with raising those 2. It was when the second one was born, because he was little. He was a premature baby. He weighed 1 pound and 4 ounces when he was born. He was 10 inches long. So when he was born, his the oldest one was a year, almost 2 years old. He was a toddler. So that second one had to stay in a hospital. He was in the hospital for 107 days. And then we had the toddler at home. So the hard part was having a toddler at home and doing things with him. But then we would go to the hospital every day to see the baby. But we didn't let the toddler in to see the baby because we didn't want him to be, excited, and we didn't know when he would come home. So it's almost like living a double life. We would be home, doing things like for instance, he was born in December 6th. All right. He was born on December 6th. So then Christmas, we had this, Christmas, we had a big Christmas tree and presents and everything for the 1-year-old, and my parents came. I think my brother and his wife came, and so we had this big Christmas thing home with the 1-year-old, And then after that, we went to the hospital to see the baby that, we didn't have a big Christmas for him because he was just still in the incubator. So it was like going back and forth. So we would take turns going in. One, like my husband would go in, and then I would stay outside in the waiting room with the 1-year-old. He had a little red and white football, and he would run back and forth up and down the waiting room. And then my husband would come out, and then I would go in and sit some with the baby, and then my husband would throw the football with the 1-year-old. So it's things like that. And then like the 1-year-old had his birthday. He was 2 years old, and so we went and we had a big birthday party. I think at McDonald's, someplace like that, for him. And then we would go to the hospital. I remember going to the circus with the 1 year. Well, he's 2 years old. We went to the circus. We saw the clowns. Yeah, and then we would go to the hospital to be with the other one.
I see. It's kind of rough, I guess, trying to please one son and then knowing that you have another one in the hospital. Mm-hmm. Now, you have your master's degree also, don't you?
Yes, I do, from Georgetown College.
What is that in?
In elementary education.
What made you decide to go into education?
I don't know. It wasn't because my mom was a teacher, because with her being a teacher, that's why I didn't want to be a teacher. Because I would see her come home and she was tired, and she didn't have enough energy to do things with her children when she got home. She would always take a nap, and then she would get up and she'd cook dinner, and it would be late when we would be eating dinner. So I said, I don't want to be a teacher. But so that's why I didn't major in education. That's why I didn't want to be a teacher. I mean, I wanted to, but I didn't want to. Mm-hmm. So when my family moved to Kentucky, in Kentucky, and then my boys were in kindergarten and second grade. So they were in a school, where we lived, and I looked around, and there weren't that many African American teachers in the school. So then I visited some other schools. The same thing was true. There weren't that many African American teachers. And then I started thinking that, there were a few students, not that many teachers, that I thought there needed to be more African American teachers in the Lexington school system. So that's when I actually talked to the principal at the school that they attended about the lack of African American teachers, and she said that there was a shortage, and she told me about a program that the University of Kentucky had in conjunction with Fayette County Public Schools, where there was a partnership that they would help pay for minority students that already had degrees in another area, to help them go to the University of Kentucky and get their teaching certificate. And then they would have to be employed in Fayette County schools for 5 years. So she told me about that program, so I got in that program, and so that's how I became a teacher.
So when you graduated from that program and started teaching, what were your first experiences? What were they like as a teacher?
Well, my first year I was employed in the public schools in a Montessori class, in a Montessori school. I don't know if you know that much about Montessori, but it has a preschool program, probably, I think it's 5 through 8, and then there's like a 9 through 11 program. So the class I was in was a first, second, third grade classroom. And in the classroom, they didn't have any textbooks. It had all Montessori materials. So at that point, like I said, this was my first year, and I didn't have any Montessori training. I didn't have any Montessori training. The only experience I had with Montessori is that my 2 sons had been to a Montessori preschool. and I guess I had been through Montessori up until the second grade. So then here I was in a Montessori classroom, Montessori materials, no textbooks, and 3 grade level students. So it's really rough.
And now you said you've been teaching for...
This is my 18th year. So I survived that first year.
And went on for 18 more.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for letting me interview you, and I appreciate you taking time out your day for
you're
doing this for
welcome.
me. So I have a few questions to wrap up the interview.
Okay.
This is for both of us. What was it like for each of you doing this interview? So what was it like for you?
First, I thought it was hard to get started, and I was nervous. But then it got easier as it went along, and then with knowing the person who was interviewing me, I think that made it easier. I think I would have been more nervous if it had been a stranger, right? I don't like to be videotaped, so.
Well, for me, I think it was easy. It was I guess same with you, difficult trying to get it started. But I think once I got into a flow of connecting, connecting the dots, and then asking follow questions, that started. I think I started getting on understanding follow questions to ask, and good questions to follow up on, and to transition into another subject. I think that's what I did good on here. It was more transitioning and follow up questions. What was easy? I guess doing follow up questions for me, and I guess paying attention to you to see what the next question would be. So it was easy for you.
Like I said, once we got started, then it was easier.
What was difficult? I guess starting in the beginning, was it hard to listen or not comfortable to talk about yourself? I guess with this interview, it wasn't really hard for me to talk about myself, because I was more focused on. I know this is an interview about you, and it's not really about me or wanting to help you. It's more getting information. So I guess it wasn't really that hard to talk about me or talk about my experiences, because this interview is more about you. Thank you once again. Thank you for letting me do this, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.